Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Pernigo, and today we are going to be looking at some Protoss versus Zerg. And I know that we've been looking at a lot of Protoss versus Zerg lately, but what if I told you that it was Protoss versus Zerg? Here? Well, Commander, I'll be seeing you. It's time for some 2v2 action, and we're on the map Ironforge. We've actually seen some pretty fun games on this map, even though I would argue, it shouldn't work as a map. There's ridiculous rush distance for, in terms of the quickness of strategies that can occur, but somehow, so far, it hasn't been solved in a way that becomes degenerate in a gameplay sense, where you're just always going down the same rush path and then you riposte and then you're lucky 1 out of 20 games becomes long. No, I think most people who play 2v2 in Cosmonarchy on this particular map, they actually, for whatever reason, they don't really go for that super early game rush. So we'll see if that ends up happening in this particular game, but allow me to introduce everybody watching to the players that we have here. We have in the Protoss team in the top left, it's Fenris, the Snow Zerg. Finally, a snow-colored Protoss, but don't worry, we'll get Snow actually playing Cosmonarchy way later, right after his ASL victory or something, who knows. In the top right, we have Doglived. He appears to be the Dark Sapphire Protoss, returning to us after some time. He used to play Protoss, then he used to play Terran, then he used to play Ascozi, and then he just used to play Cosmonarchy, but now he's back, and it looks like he's trying a little bit of everything. The Black Zerg in the bottom left is going to be Goosey. It's actually jet black, but I probably need a little bit more time to familiarize myself with the way that the colors interact with the names or something like that. That will tell me everything I need to know. And in the bottom right, we have jakulangski. He's the Redwood Zerg. He is not red, he is redwood. Redwood, redwood. How much red would a wood? Yeah, anyway. We have Fenris going for lattices. I mean, that makes a lot of sense as Protoss. Interestingly enough, the gateway into Rogue Gallery from Doglived, I could see having a nice synergy. But I do caution it a little bit. I feel like the lattice player probably needs direct control of the charlatans. And I don't think we'll be implementing anything that lets you control your allies' units or whatever. To be honest, I just feel like that would be a disaster in most of the cases. I know it's a toggle in Starcraft 2, and I think maybe even Warcraft 3. I don't like that you lose the identity of who's actually controlling it. You're a team, they're two separate players. In my head, that's different than, a shared team battle or whatever, Archon mode style stuff. So regardless, that's maybe that's just me having a boomerism, and eventually I'll come around to the idea. But I did want to just mention that we are seeing quite a large Kagra push over here. There's a pool now coming, but it looks like it's after the third Larvos, and a fourth one may be on the way, or maybe that'll be some static defense. Protoss congregating over the rush side. Looks like nobody considering themselves with the back entrance, right? Nobody considering that as a possibility. And what do we have for Goosey? I haven't actually seen him play Zerg, I don't think, or if I did, I forgot it already. He is, of course, spoofing I Am the Weed of God's name, so he is the laptop Goosey of God, apparently. Zorkish Shroud, and of course, he's got a fourth Kagrant on the way, although one of them was a Circuth. So I guess he was worried about drops, but he put it in a very funny spot. Maybe that's his idea of considering the back entrance, It's run by defense. Yeah, all right, buddy. Kabbalist on the way for Doglived. I was talking just briefly about how, once you get charlatans out, the idols are going to be benefiting that from that a little bit more than some of the other gateway units can. Maybe, Charlatan Draken, it probably hits like a truck versus single target units. But anyway, the Kabbalist is spotted before we actually have any worker kills. And there's only Zeths to defend this. This is going to get a little bit complicated here pretty quickly. Doglived has always been a bit snappy with his micro, as long as he can remember to macro behind it. You have to get into a little bit of a rhythm where you're playing the Kabbalist jump mini game to harass the workers, and you're going to make sure you're spending down your money, but he's got nothing over here. Oh no, Doglived, you got 500 minerals. There you go. Ends up with some Zealots and a Vagrant in production, just getting a little bit more beef to the army, and now he comes over here to try to manage Sir Goosey. Maybe he can get some good scouting off. He sees the double Ovaleth. That's actually going to defend the Shroud. So no opportunity for that to be scouted, except for a witness arriving from Fenris. So I suppose I told a lie. It's definitely an interesting set of compositions here. The triple embassy for artisans. You can tell Fenris wants to go on the greedier side. I don't have access to the team chat here, I don't think. I believe this is technically Fenris's replay copy. So if they were team chatting, it probably would show up here in the text chat. But damn, Doglived has got a lot of worker kills against Jack. Looks like a worker went down on harvesting gas. He's going to scout out the natural, potentially. And Jack's just going to send a bunch of Zets. Perhaps the best player to actually run by in this situation, right? because obviously Fenris's units are all the way down here, and he's got no defenses back at home. This could do some damage to his production. I actually would be more worried about losing the lattices at this point than potentially losing the workers. And indeed, Jack jumps on the opportunity to start tearing down these low HP structures. Going to go ahead and clear out one of the lattices already. The unit's trying to scramble the response, but that's the second lattice going down, and the embassies are likely targets next. Oh man, the full damage dealt to them by the Zeths. It is going to be enough to clear one of them. Maybe Jack could have been a little bit more efficient on the unit control there, but going straight into ski back after getting a bunch of drolls, his quas have, it looks like maybe, did they? No, they didn't clear the Cabals. I could have just looked around on the minimap and saw that, so XD on me part. XD on me part, Flatty. I was trying to click the unit. I couldn't do it. XD on me part. Now, we will have some static defense here shortly, but will it be in time? Doglived already marching across the map. You can see the solar array here is all unbuildable tile, so it is going to be a little bit hard for jakulangski to defend this with structures. In fact, it looks like Doglived's army routing across the backside of the map, easy as you like, is going to shut down this hatch. Goosey counters by double expanding, apparently. He's got, you know, his one quas watching the back alley. I like that. Hydras have arrived, and Hydras have gone. See you later, dude. Goosey arriving with some Zorius. Let's see if Jack can fight around that particular victory condition. Remember, it also breaks cloaked when the Rillerocors die, the Broodling equivalent here, so pretty efficient. The Kabbalist will go down, and some Vorvs arrive as well to make this Gateway army regret its choice of continuing to push the ramp. Actually, I wonder if Doglived has tried to evacuate immediately following that. Would that do something? But this is a 2v2, right? And so Fenris is taking advantage of the opportunity to move into a more advantaged spot as Doglived continues to fight as a distraction. Sort of like a, you know, you think about like the original Starcraft 1 Protoss mission, First Strike, where Phoenix, or it's actually technically the second mission, but, you know, Phoenix is like off in the wilderness, like on a timer, and you're like out there fighting, trying to distract the enemy, but in actual gameplay. Isn't that cool? So Fenris, he's maybe floundering a little bit on the unit control, but Goosey's army is all the way on the right-hand side, and jakulangski has to scramble to go defend his ally now. There's only the one circuit. We do have units in production, but it's mostly workers and a couple of Zorius. This could be a pretty resounding loss of economy here. Oh, going after the Larvosks, that's brutal. We'll keep tabs on that as the fight between Goosey's Zeths and Doglived's army continues to rage on, and it's not looking good for Goosey, as that's going to be a full kill on multiple Kagrants. Workers looks like they have evacuated to one of the other satellite bases, and we do have backdolls coming with a bunch of Zeths for the production tab of jakulangski. He's going to need to do a little bit more than that, I think. The Zeths on the counterattack could maybe overwhelm the Acantor, but Doglived, he's pushing forward. He's pushing further forward, and he's going to be able to crush that position. Fenris's army still has not been cleaned up. Vorvs arriving from Jack to help support this Zorius-based army. The Olgord Cavern is done, so we will eventually see Ultracores, barring something extraordinary. But I love this little concave set up here by Fenris. Very efficient. And most of those units were robotics, so you don't, or prisoners, I guess, so you don't even have to shed a tear. Of course, if you're Alexander watching this, you only shed a tear for the Zergs, so fair enough. Unitary Union for Tier 3. We do have that expansion finally coming for Doglived. That's something to point out. The Protoss team, they might be owning as far as their attacks are concerned, but they're not developing economically, and now it feels like Doglived may have overextended again, with little opportunity for Fenris to go for some kind of counter-push. Tier 2 for Goosey after all that damage sustained. Triple Embassy was reset with a Crucible to empower it, kind of wild. He's just slamming out the Artisan count. Man, okay, so I take back what I said about the Protoss not developing economically. That's just Doglived. But he's got his Acantors, and, you know, maybe you just develop crawlers and move across the map that way. I feel like that's like one of the most niche inside jokes ever, but if you ever click on Protoss structures in StarCraft 1 while they're researching an ability, such as Hallucinate, or Psystorm, or Maelstrom, or Mind Control, it says developing instead of upgrading. So that's what I was pranking there. I don't think very many people would get that one. All the Vorvs are gone. I guess some more reinforcements come in might help turn the tide. The Acantor still trying to shellac what it can, but those Backles regressing into Hydras actually turn them into a little bit more of a deadly strike force, and those two Acantors from earlier slowly walking up. They got to unify. I like the idea of attacking on multiple fronts, but Jack had just enough to riposte that assault. Now, double prostration stage with all the money from the artisans. This is something I was just talking about Shopkeeper Dog with earlier as of the time of recording. Oh, this is a brutal catch on one of the Cantors. Thankfully, his units are nearby to save the other one, but look, Jack looking for a flank. I guess we'll have to hold that thought. Who knows what I was talking about Shopkeeper with? I was just talking about Zerg versus Protoss. That's all I talk about on Cosmonically. Welcome to another Zerg versus Protoss cast. It's another pretty wide flank between these two players. Bit of a 1v1 right now, but Fenris scrambling some reinforcements. Well, he thought about moving across with his positrons, but decided against it. Call was made, apparently, that they were just going to chill out. Barguests being made for that armor penetration definitely will help against the Ultra Cores. And look at that, the Hydras. They don't have any front line left. The Skits are going to try to harass the worker line, but there's only 3 of them. A couple of moving shots, though, could potentially help out. We're at 17 workers. We'll see if that number starts to falter. Perhaps I was a little undercounting, because I obviously see one of them died, but the number didn't change. Oh, yeah, this is going to be... I think this is building up to be a brutal hit, yeah. So it was something like... Wow. Okay, 17 dead workers there for Doglived. He is in the dumps economically after that move. Feels like he's now going to have to come back from that position. Obviously, the positrons earlier helped him out. They were moving up to the top right, assuming that's where the defense was going to be necessarily centralized instead. Jakulangski just followed the workers, and the workers evacuated a little too soon, it feels like. An unforced error, perhaps. Goosey's been allowed to go up to Vilgoricor Tech, the Matreval Nest, showing its stuff. And I don't know, I'm a little bit concerned right now. Fenris's Witness at least sees the breadth of the army that is against them. A Matrix warping in, 2 Wardens already here, but the Skiff count has only grown, so they're only going to become more efficient against these Scribes. Mining that much-needed Vespene for the Protoss race, and Pariahs are available for Fenris. And you can see Doglived desperately trying to incur the wrath of his own allies' units so that he can get to the front line and help them out. They were busy with the Skits. Now we come forward. The Clarion trying to restore shields, but it's on the front line. It might be haplessly sacked as reinforcements from Fenris that were trying to help Doglived out with that worker harassment coming in from the east. The Ultra Cores mixing in with those Vilgs. The Carapace Swarm shielding them from further damage, allowing their lifesteal to kick in a big way, but it looks like the Protoss might narrowly have enough to clear through the front line. And these Hydras are really stacked up. The Positron count good enough, it feels like, to force this attack away. Think about those Barguests for the armor pen. Think about the Charlatans magnifying the damage and creating more projectiles. It's just a full routing here as Goosey Zorius, well, they melt pretty damn quickly to that composition. The attack speed increase from the Pariahs also definitely paying for themselves, shall we say. More and more artisans. That's it. That's all Fenris needs right now. No second Nexus in sight for him. But a reset of Vilgs. We don't have any Ultras. I guess the idea here is that with the Convolisks adding up and the mid-range from Jakulangski, this is the play. But is it going to be enough? Goosey engaged without, because Jakulangski tried to incur the wrath, but the splash damage is enormous. I just don't see how the Zerg can deal with this mulch. Not when they're fighting in drip-feeding piecemeal. A couple of Vilgs, a couple of Convies are all that's left in the production tab, and apparently on the field of battle as well. The Bactals are all clenched up. Oh no! It's a total routing, a total disaster for the Zerg. And this is what PvZ needed, apparently. You just needed 2 Protoss against 2 Zerg, and you were just fine. This might be a wrap here. I don't see a way out for the Zerg team. And I think that will be the end as the last of their military units falter in the middle of the map. A small, scant few additional units coming out from Goosey. And of course, Jakulangski is going to hold on to the bitter end here, but I'm waiting for the tap out, and I certainly know it must be coming soon. The Clarion here, even on the front line, drawing fire and providing detection, which I'm not so sure that's even something that was known by Fenris. Doglived will take care of Jack. His army has grown thanks to the allyship of Fenris. But there is nothing that Goosey can do to stop this army. Down will go the Matreval Nest. The Iral Iris has already been torn asunder before we even had a chance to look at it. Everybody always says you never see Tier 2 in and the late game stuff in a lot of these matches. Well, all you need are extra players, apparently. It's a bloodbath in Goosey's base, and I think he's about ready to close his laptop. Jack desperately trying to score what Pyrrhic victory he can muster. You know, he's just looking for moral victories, killing some Protoss. Man, I can't wait for the FFA tournament. That's all I'm going to say. And there is actually a 2v2 tournament being run. I should have probably led with this at the beginning of the video. 2 versus 2 tourney, and it's going to be a good one. I can already smell it. It's being run by George. So sign up via Discord or Fluxer servers. Check the tournaments channel for the information. And definitely get ready for some action that's going to look a little bit like this. Goosey's even rebuilding his tier 2. But the synthetic sign out on the way for Fenris. The victory lap is nearly complete. And Doglived may not have been able to contribute that much against what jakulangski had, but even with tier 2 here, I really don't see how Goosey's going to be spared. Can't quite make it down the ramp very easily. Jack might be able to go for a 6 around on the army, but I mean, we can tell, right? There's not much left over here. Monument of Sin even. I love it. I love it. Yeah, and shout out to George, since you are going to be running that tournament. You give me the opportunity to say thank you, man, for running these weirder tournaments, right? He's got the 2v2 one. I'm pretty sure he ran one on an older version of Cosmonarchy to try to, like, see what the older version was like. That's a second Iral Iris kill. I can't believe how many we got to see in this game. And the elimination, complete and total elimination of Sir Goosey. It just puts a smile on my face. You know, a lot of Tetzoricors are being made, but I think we're just, we are just on the victory lap, aren't we? Jack holding on. He's like, no, wait, I can still win. Spoiler, you cannot still win. Sycophants. Got that pariah for the splash. Technically, the Sycophant does a little bit of splash damage as well. Gulp, says Jack. And I don't think it's because he's drinking oil. Yeah, he wants his last stand. He's got his muscle-bound men waiting to charge forward. What do you even do with oil anyway? Do you, besides eat it, obviously. I know Jack, he's there long enough, you'll get class. Well, that's pretty cute, but I don't think he's going to be able to do that. All of his tets are gone, flattened, crushed into sweet crude. GG is called, and that will be the end for jakulangski. Thank you all for joining us. It was a little bit, there's a little bit of extra time on the runtime of the video, courtesy of how long the Zergs wanted to hang out. And yeah, they were the waste, apparently, according to Shambler's Force names. That's rude. That's just rude. But I will be happy to, you know, cast some of those 2v2 games that get played. Oh, I'm signed up for it, too. For a chance to play with the developer, you can sign up. That's another thing I should say. And I'll see if I can cast another 2v2 or a few before the tournament, just to keep spreading the word about it. So thanks for joining us for that. GG.